Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another live AMA segment here on La Token Venture Capital TV. My name is Riaz, and along with our producer Hasmik, we will be your host for today. Like every session, we bring you the latest innovations, technology, and solutions. And during all of our segments, you get to hear directly from CEOs and relevant leaders speaking about their projects. Before we move on to the interview, as a reminder, you can see all of our previous shows and content by visiting www.latoken.com/VCTV/shows. Also, follow us across multiple social platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. If you are watching us on YouTube, just hit the subscribe button so you're always informed of great content opportunities and even giveaways. Finally, remember, anything mentioned here is not any type of financial advice. Do your research and homework before making any decisions. So with that, I'm very glad to introduce Bubby from the AMP and Flexa team. Hi, Bubby. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Um, Bubby, usually we send projects like yourselves a series of standard questions. But if there is anyone in the audience that's joining us live, feel free to drop us a question or comment as we go through the Q&A today. So with that, Bubby, how are you doing? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We had a very busy morning today. We just released a new feature called Flexa Payments, which is huge for our platform. And
Yeah. We were talking about that before we started the live session. So looking forward to hearing about this. Before we get started, maybe you can just tell us a bit about yourself and a little about the team behind both AMP and Flexa.
sure. We're Flexa. We're a digital payments company based out of New York. Flexa has been around since 2018. And after 2 years of research and development, AMP was released in 2020. Flexa has about 20 employees and growing. AMP, which have been talking about, is a collateral token that supports the Flexa network, which was created by Flexa and Consensus. Um, our vision right now is any app or any asset, any app, any store. So it's kind of like our war cry. So you're going to see that everywhere. Like that's what we firmly believe in. We want to, make any asset spendable. We want to be inside of any application, and you spend these assets at any store. To go in a little bit about the team, we have 4 co-founders with deep experience in payments. Our CEO, Tyler Spalding, has been in crypto for more than 11 years. He's a MIT grad, a rocket scientist, a serial entrepreneur, and the former CTO of Raise. Here's a fun little fact. He was an engineer lead with the United Space Alliance, the U.S. Air Force, and NASA Space Shuttle program. So he has quite a bit of accolades.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah. Our VP of Engineering, Zach, he came up with the stake pools concept about 4 years ago. Which, if you think about it, 4 years ago, staking wasn't even a thing. So he was part of that revolution, and that's what we use right now. He has over 8 years of experience engineering front end and back end software platforms and infrastructure for payments and mobile. And he was also working at Raise with Tyler.
Okay.
Our head of product, Trevor Filter, has been designing award-winning centric experiences for over 10 years. He's also from MIT. He was a senior product manager at American Express and also worked at Raise. And lastly, our last co-founder, Daniel McCabe, who's a COO, CCO, has 20 plus years of a business law experience across technology, blockchain, and finance. So we have a pretty stacked team. It's looking good.
No, that's amazing. No, that's great to hear. I guess for some of us like myself that are coming into this market or new to, like you said, staking is fairly really new as well. Maybe you can give us an overview of how you and the team see the market as it is today, and what's leading to the most recent updates and product development, I suppose.
Yeah. So the crypto markets are nonstop. I'd be lying if I knew. I'd be lying to you if I knew what was going to happen next. Sentiments are healthy, right?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I'm a firm believer of we either go up or we go down. That's really how the market is. But it's been interesting to see how the landscape has evolved. Like I remember like yesterday when it was 2017, 2018, it was the ICO boom, and then we saw after that we saw the creation and the usage of DeFi, which in my opinion changed the game of crypto forever. Since then, we see many other narratives playing out like NFTs, metaverse, Ethereum killers. the stable coins, so many more. And right now, I believe eventually we're going to have the day where payments are going to take a narrative. They're going to take a spotlight as well. And so with all the evolving technology, that's how we sort of came into play. We knew that we had a problem that we wanted to solve, and we could use this technology to solve it.
Yeah, I guess that leads into the next question. What were some of these problems that you've seen in the past, and maybe you're currently seeing now, and what were the problems that motivated you to to step up in terms of building this out?
Yeah. So like, as mentioned earlier, all of our founders had deep experience in the payments industry, with over 50 years combined of experience. So we sought out to solve the problem of payment expense, and that's really what Flex is trying to solve. Retail payment expense, whether in store or online, is extremely expensive, right? This could be due to transaction costs and fraud. A fun little fact right now, payment expense is around 2% of the US GDP, which is a staggering amount. So our goal is minimizing the cost of a transaction, and crypto, enabled us to do it. We're not just a crypto project trying to solve or we're not trying to, solve a random problem with the crypto project, but we have a real problem that we're trying to solve. And, crypto just happened to give us a chance to solve it.
No, that's great.
With
Hasmik, I thought, yeah, go ahead.
uh,
Sorry.
I was going to say, with blockchain and smart contracts, we were able to, decentralize the risk and the cost of payments through our collateral. The benefits of a decentralized collateralization model is that we can guarantee fraud-proof transactions and instant finality, which is unheard of in traditional payments. So that's kind of our pitch.
Yeah, I was going to say, Hasmik, I don't know if there's any questions from the audience, but maybe we can touch a bit more on the point of sale system, I guess, or maybe touch on where the demand is growing, maybe jurisdictionally speaking. I'm based here in Switzerland, so I don't see too much visibility, I suppose, here. But I'm just curious to see where you're seeing demand for these payment systems.
Yeah. So the demand is coming from surprisingly from a ton of large merchants, right?
Okay.
So right now we're in the process of talking with merchants, and I'm not really privy, or I can't say who we're talking to, but it is building out as part of our network. But what I can tell you is we're an all digital payments network that enables consumers to pay with any asset, any application at any store or context. So if you kind of piece that together, that's really the scope of everything, right?
Yeah.
We really want to be in every store. So all of the United States, all of Canada, the whole world, everywhere.
And, then so I guess from an elevator pitch perspective, who would be the main audience that you would be talking to, and what would that pitch look like?
Yeah, so really, we want to appeal to the consumers and the merchants, right?
Yeah.
We want to make payments as simple as possible, as intuitive as possible, without limitations to both the consumer and the merchants. So for consumers, we want to enable these payments literally on any application and make it as simple as presenting we call them flex codes, but it's like a QR code. Present that to a point of sale or a merchant, and they scan it, and then it instantly settles. So I've used it in the past many times. It's really, really simple. You just show your phone, they scan it, boom, transaction finishes, you get your receipt, you walk out the door. The other way that we could pay is on some of the more advanced terminals. The merchant will present a QR code. We also have the ability to scan that QR code and finish the transaction in that manner. For merchants, we want the product to require the least amount of friction as possible. And I guess from like a company standpoint, the huge value add is that there is no need for new hardware. There's no need for training. Literally, we integrate into the software because that's really where the value of Flex is. We could integrate into any point of sale rather easily. And so, with no training, no hardware, that's a ton of cost savings, and it makes implementing Flexa the simplest form possible. We also want to ensure that all payments are fraud-proof with instant finality, and
Okay.
as I mentioned, with the smallest fee possible to the merchants. We always charge less than interchange. So typically, it's less than 1% compared to like credit card processors, which could be a lot more. For all our partners, merchants, and wallets, we do all the heavy lifting on the compliance side. So that's another value add. We ensure complete regulatory compliance and AML protections. So, we do a ton of stuff on the back end. We make sure we have the MTLs. We make sure that everything is compliant as can be, and merchants won't be in any harm's way. Neither would the wallets who are integrating us.
So then, is it safe to say that AMP acts as maybe you can talk a bit more as to how AMP interacts within this ecosystem? Is it the liquidity tool between two different assets, I guess, like from a retail perspective? I'm just curious to see. I have many small, medium enterprise friends, for example, that I'm just curious to see how this would be embedded within their system.
Yeah. So the beauty of AMP is that all the entities that we're talking about, consumers and merchants and wallets, they don't need to know what AMP is, and that's like the power, right? As a consumer, they simply want to transact value and get goods for it, and as a merchant, they want to get the value and convert it to whatever asset they want. So that could be like USD or whatever cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
But however, there's a lot of things going on in the back end, right? Since we open Since we open the network to accept any asset, there are various problems we open ourselves to. So the most obvious one is blockchain finality. So like, for example, I go to a store or if we do like a P2P transaction, I send you some BTC, we could be waiting 5 to 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour for a confirmation, right?
Right.
And that's a horrible user experience. There's also the risk of double spending, assets not settling, fraud, bad actors. So to mitigate these problems, we introduced AMP to serve as a collateral for the payments in the Flexa network. AMP promotes instant verifiable assurances for any pending or future value transfer. AMP is also asset agnostic, meaning it can handle any form of value transfer and support any asset, digital or physical. So we could, like we mentioned earlier, we support any asset like ADA, Cello, Bitcoin, Litecoin. I mean, you name it, we support it. We're chain agnostic. We don't care where the asset's coming from. So AMP utilizes collateral to get more on the technical side, right? AMP utilizes collateral partitions to support any application transaction being collateralized. So this makes AMP extensible and open to any use case. The AMP collateral is driven by the collateral manager, which the one that we have right now is called Flexa Capacity. So if a user wants to stake right now, they're going to stake on Flexa Capacity,
okay,
which is the our staking platform. So what happens is the Flexa network uses the staked AMP to provide the finality assurance of network payments. So to incentivize staking, AMP is autonomously distributing as a result of successful payments. So I kind of want to read you a little excerpt of the white paper that kind of like describes what's happening.
Yeah, no, please definitely go ahead.
So this is like my favorite part of the white paper. I always share this with everyone when they want to know like what I think is like the hugest value add of AMP. It's section 5.2.2, the continuous time liquidity section. It reads, an important model to consider is the effect of continuous buy pressure on the token due to platform use. As a network completes payments, a percentage of each intra-network transaction takes liquidity for open market AMP token purchases. These rewards are autonomously distributed and capitalized on a regular basis, a process that can be replicated with the time series model involved time varying liquidity demand for AMP rewards. So in simple terms, I guess we could say the more that Flexa gets used, more AMP is bought in the open market, which creates constant buy pressure.
Reduces your supply.
Yeah, constant buy pressure from the direct result of uses of utility. So I kind of call that the AMP flywheel. So moving on, Flexa Capacity AMP staking really allows any application that wants to enable spending to create collateral pools to support that spending. So let's say that you create an app and you want to implement the Flexa SDK. You're going to have to open up a collateral pool, right? And so stakers can put their AMP inside your pool to support the spending of your pool. So let's say you're able to raise $10 million USD in the pool. That $10 million would be used to support every user's purchase. So you'll have $10 million at any given time to support spending.
It's almost like a line of credit is almost.
Almost, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And how many of these pools are currently running?
So on the type of pool that I just described, like an app-specific pool, we have two of them. One is called the Gemini Pay, which is used by the Gemini Exchange app, and the other one is our native app called Spedin. Okay. They have about 300 million and 75 million total value locked, respectively. For those apps, like I said, the TVL is directly correlated to the spending capacity. So at any given time, we could collateralize that amount for any purchase.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. We also have another kind of pool, which is pretty interesting. The ones that we rolled out today, they're called transformers.
Okay.
And these are really cool. For example, we have a Lightning Network transformer. I'm sorry, excuse me.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, so we have a Lightning transformer pool. So this specific pool will support transactions on the Lightning Network for any Lightning Network wallet.
Okay.
So fun little fact about that one, we played a role in enabling Lightning payments in El Salvador with our transformer. We enabled the transformer for a bank called Banco Agricola to accept Lightning payments from like various wallets like Chivo, Strike, any wallet in El Salvador that had Lightning. We were supporting that at this bank. So that's kind of like the gist of what a transformer is. Like, let's say if we have a Solana transformer that got released today. I don't know if you've seen Solana Pay out there. If there's a user who uses Solana Pay and they're using Solana Pay at one of the merchants that enabled our transformer,
yep,
we will be able to set payments from Solana Pay or virtually any Solana wallet. The same goes for like Bitcoin, Litecoin. Let me try to pull up a list of all the different transformers we have right now. Let's see, because there are so many, it's hard to memorize them all.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Let's see.
And again, all these transformers would make use of the AMP token.
Yes. So,
but from a staking perspective, though, if you're an AMP holder, or if you're thinking about owning some AMP tokens, if I wanted to take advantage of the staking, it would only be through the Flexa platform, I guess. Yes.
Right. Yeah, it's called Flexa Capacity.
Yeah.
So right now on Flexa Capacity, we have a total of I want to say 12 transformers. There's one for Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Cardano, Celo, Dogecoin, Ethereum, Lightning, Litecoin, Polygon, Solana, Tezos, and Zcash.
Wow. We did have a question from the audience. I was hoping I could share that with you. So sure. It was has there been any communication or interest in payments with Steam? It's the game distribution platform who tried BTC payments and had problems with fraud a few years back.
Not to my knowledge, but it would be an interesting conversation to have. Yeah, if they show interest, we would definitely talk to them.
Yes, you mentioned that you were going to. Oh, no, it was the 12 transformers, as you mentioned. Maybe we can touch a bit on the roadmap.
Yeah,
there's some announcements that you mentioned today that are pretty exciting. What other future updates do you expect to see?
Yeah. Well, before we move on to that, I kind of want to describe the mechanism of the staking, of like how the collateral works. So that I didn't touch on that, and I think I left that out. So like the collateral mechanism. So what happens is every transaction that happens. So let's say I go to the store, I buy like a $300 jeans or $100 shoes. An equal amount of AMP will be put up for collateral, so that when you pay at the terminal, we guarantee that that payment is good and the merchant gets paid immediately, right?
Yep.
So we're going to take on the risk that um, the payment's going to clear. The blockchain is going to, confirm these transactions, and once it confirms, we put that app back into the pool, so it's going to be able to use for another transaction. So,
Right.
but on the merchant side, like they don't know that that's happening, right? They just know that they got their money, they got guaranteed, and boom, they got their money, and that's our guarantee.
And then it's a conversation really between AMP and then the consumer, I suppose, to
Yeah.
settle the other half of that equation.
Well, it's when the app communicates with the merchant is really communicating with us. Like we're playing as a mediary between them,
Yep.
and we do all the stuff in the back end. Like uh, we will take that asset. We will go to our exchange partners, and if the merchant decides they want to get paid in USD, we will convert that asset to USD for the merchant, and they will get paid like exactly as if like when they do credit card payments, they'll get their payment in the lump sum, and it gets sent to them immediately.
Would there be scenarios where the demand for that liquidity is greater than the pool amount?
That is a good problem, right? We hope that the pools will continue to grow, and if the demand increases, as mentioned, in that little section of the white paper,
Yep.
for every single transaction that happens on the Flexa network, we take a small fee for every transaction, and that fee we use it to buy AMP in the open market to distribute as rewards to the stakers, right? And so
Yep.
you can imagine with more usage, that's going to create more buy pressure, and we could say that it could increase the value of the token, but if the value of the token increases and we get continuous liquidity being added into these pools, it's going to create more spending capacity.
Right. Okay. No, that's awesome. Did you want to touch on the roadmap going forward?
Sure. Yeah. So the roadmap, it's pretty simple. It's that one thing I kept saying earlier. Basically, we want to allow spending on any asset from any application at any store, any context, and really that's what we're striving for. We want to open this up to everyone and whatever means necessary to get there. So we're going to continue to push digital payments and open it up to all consumers and all merchants. And we want to just continue to drive adoption. And payments will have its time in the crypto narratives.
Yeah, no, I just realized that payments often gets lost in the Web3 conversations, right? It's not it's not an often talked about topic, but I would imagine it's evolving just as everything else is at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. It's for years. It hasn't been talked about. Like when we do make pushes, it's not the hottest topic, but we're firm believers that that all projects that are doing payments, we're not competing against each other. We're trying to help each other. So when somebody else has something nice to deliver and all eyes are on that space, then it's good for everyone. So we're here to support everyone.
Yeah, remittances. Does that a busy? That must be an interesting space as well. I would imagine. I haven't. I still see physical lineups outside physical remittance services, right, where they're still charging 15-20%. I'm surprised that space hasn't been solved yet as quickly. There seems to be a lot of
and
it's a fee-rich environment there.
yeah, definitely. There's a lot of opportunity for sure.
Very good, very good. Any other thoughts on where the project is going to be in the next, I would say, 2-3 years?
So I would say what we're building is something that we're hoping that's going to be here for decades to come. We're taking our time to build everything out right, making the right partnerships. 2 to 3 years, who knows? Like maybe adoption. Like we said, we want any asset in any application. We might be in apps that you least expected. Not only dealing with crypto. Crypto is just one aspect of what we're trying to solve. We want to also, deal with rewards, loyalty points, USD, any kind of transfer value. That's what we want.
NFTs probably as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Any interesting stories around this? Any interesting asset proposals that have come up recently? Like does real estate come up in conversation, for example, as one side of an equation, or maybe that's just too big of a transaction in this scenario?
No, I mean, eventually we want to be able to collateralize transactions of that size. Of course, if we do go that route, when we do go that route, we're gonna have to have stricter KYC on the upper limits, right?
Yeah,
Like if we're gonna be transacting, hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's gonna be like when you sign up for an exchange, and the exchange has different levels of KYC depending on what your limits are.
yeah.
We're probably going to be doing the same thing because compliance is at the highest level here.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's a challenge, I guess, from a decentralization perspective as well, right? That balance that you have to find between KYC and being completely decentralized.
Yeah, but that's the beautiful thing about Flexa. It's a mix of both worlds. We're centralized and decentralized. We're centralized in the fact that Flexa is the centralized entity, but decentralized where the collateral AMP is a completely decentralized mechanism. It's an open source, immutable smart contract, meaning no entity can mint, burn, or alter the contract in any way. We do have a fixed supply of 100 billion tokens. It's vested to be fully released by 2045. But yeah, I mean, it's anybody could build on top of AMP. Anybody could create collateral pools. So it's decentralized in that way. We're decentralizing the risk for Flexa. So it's really a mix of both worlds.
No, that's awesome. I don't think. I mean, if there are any other questions from the audience that's listening in, please send them our way. I don't know. Any final thoughts that you want to leave for anyone that's listening in right now, and that could be listening in later as well.
Yeah. So everything that Flexa does, as I mentioned before, it's done with legal and compliance in mind. We're building everything for longevity. Hopefully for decades to come. We've made a lot of strategic partnerships with payment processors like NCR, Aura, Sitcon, Incom Payments, GK Software, and like countless others. So we're moving strategically. We're making the right moves. We support over 100 digital assets or cryptocurrencies, which is unheard of. You don't see any network supporting that amount of assets, and it's across multiple chains. We're asset agnostic, and we're really looking to disrupt the payments industry. And like I said, our war cry: any asset, any app, any store. That's what we're about. So yeah, that's what we.
That's great. If there are any merchants that happen to listen to this AMA, what best would be to reach out to Flexa, I suppose. Yes.
Yeah.
On your website. Wait, yeah.
We do have a lot of information on our website, flexa.network, where merchants apply to use our platform. If you want more information on AMP, we have a website, amptoken.org. You can also follow us on Twitter at Flexa HQ, so that's for the Flexa Twitter handle, and at amptoken, which is where you're going to find information for important information, any relevant announcements. And as you'll notice, we don't really announce too many things often, but when we do, it's huge. For community discussion, you could join our Discord server where I will be actively participating. And for staking, staking could be, kind of difficult, especially for new users. We do have a really nice detailed guide on how to stake on our Gitbook. The website for that is docs.amptoken.org. And then I also like to encourage people to use our Spendin app, which is our prototype app. I guess you could say like beta. It's to show the capabilities of the Flexa network, and encourage other app developers to implement our SDK. And that proof of concept app, you could use it at a lot of stores. I personally have used it at GameStop, Nordstrom, Hot Topic, Coffee Bean, Regal Cinemas, and there's a ton of more stores on there. Try it
That's
out.
interesting. And that's on the iPhone and I guess the
Yeah.
Amazon. Okay, I mean, sorry, yeah,
So it's called
Android network.
Spedden, SPEDN, and yeah, just download that. The KYC, there's like a very light KYC where you gotta input your email and your address. So after that, you could deposit funds into there and start spending. It's really
Wow.
simple and it's really fun. It's fun interacting with the merchants. It's usually they're surprised about how easy it is. Like from my experience, you got to go in there and you got to say like, hey, I'm gonna pay with the digital payment, and they're like, okay. And they don't know what they're doing, and then after it's all done, you can kind of be like, I just pay with Bitcoin, and then usually the next thing they're gonna say is, have you invested in Doge? It's really awesome, and it's
Uh,
kind of spreading the word of cryptocurrency to normal people.
so so in this situation, their first experience with cryptocurrency would be that transaction in many
Yeah,
times.
yeah, and it's really fun. Like it's really really fun.
Right. And they didn't have to have a crypto wallet on their side in order to make that transaction go, by the sounds of it.
Um, well,
Or
if,
would
if
they need to have the app as well? That the one that you just mentioned.
so the user would need to have SPEDN. The merchant, they're literally just scanning with their point of sale. They don't know that
Device. Wow.
they don't know that they're accepting crypto, and that's the cool part. And that's why like where it requires little training, it does. I'm literally training them there, like, hey, scan this like this, and it's gonna go through, and it works. It settles in a second, and they're just amazed that I paid with Bitcoin.
Wow. And then now you have definitely have me curious. So I'll definitely check that out after the show for sure.
And
No, that's great. Go ahead. Sorry.
um, I also want to give a shout out to the AMP community. They have a wealth of knowledge. They do a lot of deep research, and we do have a lot of community members who have been documenting these shopping experiences. They either like they take screen or they take pictures of it, they take videos of it. I myself have made a ton of videos with these experiences. Just be on the lookout for them because it's really fun and cool.
No, definitely cool. And I would I myself will definitely check out the Discord channel. I always find that Discord communities are super fascinating to pay attention to. So looking
Yeah,
forward to that as well.
they're very
Perfect.
there.
For anyone that's listening in, again, if you have any questions for the AMP team or for the Flexa team, feel free to visit their website and their social media channels. If you have any further questions for myself or the team here at Low Token, reach out to us as well. Thank you so much for this. Let's
Yeah,
uh, let's let's definitely do this again. I would say in a few weeks to get caught up on the latest.
yeah, for sure. We have a ton of stuff coming out.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. That's it for our show tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Take care.